all that?
Anymore.
Yeah.
I really do.
Moore,
Yeah.
Here. Marty.
O'Kane,
Here.
Shaner,
Here.
Scott,
Here.
Waters.
Here.
Please stand for a moment of silence, sir. And
Thank you. United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
all right, we'll start with Airport Board of Trustees, Corey Glod interview. Corey, come up and tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to serve.
Thank you.
Sure. How are you? Good afternoon.
Good.
It's Corey Glode. I moved to this area about 4 years ago. Well, coming up on 4 years ago. My wife and I just recently purchased a house in March. So just looking for a way to get involved in my community and just serve. Also, a professional development goal of mine at work is to join a board. So I just looked around and saw this opportunity.
Where'd you move from?
I lived in New England. Well, I was in the Army, so I lived all around, but I grew up in New England.
Okay.
Met her in Boston and moved out here with her.
What brought you to Sioux City?
My wife is from here. So,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we met in Boston, and then she wanted to move back towards family, so I just took the chance and moved out here.
All right.
No doubt. Appreciate your application, Corey, very
Sure.
much, and your
Thank you.
interest.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you for applying.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. We'll let you know.
Awesome. Thank
All
you.
right.
I did have
Appreciate it.
a question, not for you though, but about our gender balance, because I noticed we have 3 expiring that are all female, and and we have 3 applicants which are all male currently. So do we have any other applications that have been submitted, or anybody that is currently serving on their first term that was interested in repeating a term? I meant to grab Linda on our trip too, and she just got away from me. I feel like she sensed it.
There is 2 that are planning to reapply.
Okay,
I've talked to both of them, they're planning to, so that's the intent.
thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
As a rule, also when it comes to the gender balance, so if we don't have any more female applicants when they have to be female or vice versa in those scenarios, once we hit that 90-day mark, we can look at both sides then.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Bradbury. Class of 70 East High? Or are you 60? Yeah, a long time ago.
Not quite as long as you.
You're right. You are so right, Bill. Go ahead, tell us why you want to serve.
Well, I'm an engineer by education, a bachelor's and master's degree from Iowa State. The master's is in environmental engineering, sanitary engineering back at that time. I graduated in '75. And I've got a couple years of work experience for a consultant in Omaha, and then headed back to my hometown, Sioux City, in the late '70s. And I worked for 39 years in design build construction for Young Love Construction, one of the Klinger companies. And I have an MBA also. The Gleason family is very generous in paying for education, and so I took advantage of that and went to night school, got an MBA. And that works real well with an engineer in construction who had no accounting or anything prior to that as far as business classes. But anyway, I think that I can, as a committee member, I could look at a lot of the reports and maybe ferret out things that other people couldn't. With my construction background and technically, I understand, the entire process down there. And I've already Googled some things on the internet just out of curiosity. Like I'm real interested in what can be reclaimed and reused and maybe renovated in the existing plant, because you start abandoning activated sludge basins, and you're talking big dollars, I'm sure. So anyway, that's about it. The projects I had all over the country, design, build, and that's just talking to the gentleman back here. You can't do design, build, and sewage treatment plant construction anymore in the state because of a law that was passed. So, which is kind of too bad, but anyway.
Questions?
I was really interested that you've got experience working in the sewage plant operations study back in the 80s. And I was wondering
Yeah.
if you could explain kind of what that looked like.
You know, that was so long ago, I can't even remember the year. Bob, you weren't on the council back
It was before me, right before me.
It was a committee that was put together about in the mid-'80s. I remember some of the people that were on the committee.
Well, I might have been here for that. Yeah, I might have been.
You know, Dr. Yaki from Morningside College was on the committee. He's a chemistry professor. There was an attorney on there. I remember what he looks like. I can't remember his name. It was, you know, quite a while ago. But it was a committee that was put together to study whether or not the operation of the plant should remain in the hands of city personnel or be subcontracted out to like a consultant or an operations company. And that's ultimately what happened, and I'm not sure what are you doing today if
It's city operated again.
it's city operated. So it went back into city operation. But
I guess that means wrap it up. No, I'm just.
That's your timer.
New folks didn't know how to turn it off.
You said you're an engineer. He cut you off. I apologize, Bill.
I don't know if maybe he doesn't like engineers.
Yeah, well, you haven't watched enough council meetings to know that.
I have watched 0.
Oh, well,
But I see why maybe I can someday.
yes. Yeah.
Any
Well,
questions?
no, I would just say really, I mean, I think this is going to be a really important advisory committee, and I really appreciate that you have an informed opinion. I think that it's really important for our citizens to be represented and for us to, I mean, when you're talking about almost 85,000 people and you're, you know, representing that voice, I think it's really important and carries a lot of responsibility. And I think it also works in your favor, or I appreciate that's an informed voice where hopefully we can collaborate and all of us be able to work together to be able to find the best solution for the future of the community, which is something you've served on in the past, it sounds like. So I just appreciate your willingness to apply in this instance as well.
Okay.
Sure looks like your experience and background will be most helpful.
I think it would,
Yeah,
and it would be interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm retired and I've got the time.
Right.
So,
Thank you.
you bet.
Thanks, Bill, appreciate it. We'll go to the consent agenda today, which is items 3 through 17C. Consider them to pass unanimously unless a separate roll call vote is asked for by a council member. If you want to speak on an agenda item, please come up as I read that item. If you want to speak on an item not on the agenda, please come up at the end under citizen concerns. Remember to state your name and address for the record, and remember we have the 3-minute rule today. I'll move the consent agenda.
Second.
3 is the reading of the city council minutes of May 15th. 4 is a resolution authorizing negotiations with U.S. Bank for banking and auxiliary services. 5, a resolution supporting the Iowa Economic Development Authority application to the Workforce Housing Tax Credit Program for Four Seasons apartments.
Say, Bob, I just wanted to just say one thing. Actually, Teresa, it was to your item back on 4. You don't have to come up. I was just going to thank both you and Kelly for taking the time to do that. I mean, it's been business as usual for, it seems like, decades. And so to be able to analyze and look over those processes, I think is commendable. I really appreciate that creativity and thinking that maybe we can readjust and look at some different things. I know you had a team that helped make that determination, but I just wanted to at least acknowledge that I really appreciate that, because it sounds like we're going to have quite a bit of savings. So that really saved the taxpayer dollars, and it was probably creative thinking on your part. So
There's also potential for revenue earning, which.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, thank you so much.
Okay. 6 is a resolution approving the general fund balance policy. 7 is a resolution approving a health insurance reserve fund policy. 8 are resolutions assessing $500 civil penalties against Love's Travel Stop for violation of the Iowa beer, wine, and liquor laws. 9 is a resolution adopting plans and specs for the Bruner Avenue and Nash Street siphon project. 10 is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Sidwell Company for parcel fabric migration, training, and support. 11 are Finance Department actions. 1 is A is a resolution approving advance of funds for repayment from the Urban Renewal Tax Increment Revenue Funds.
Mayor,
Yes?
I just want to comment, Teresa, on the list that you show for the TIF projects for FY 2024. Just amazing the number of projects we've done with TIF funds. And I hope everyone took time to look through that list because it really encompasses a lot of projects. And if I read the total right, $8,469,745. So thank you for putting that list together. It really speaks volumes for how we're doing.
B is a resolution declaring the official intent to issue debt for expenditures paid. 12 are actions relating to street closures. A is a resolution temporarily closing various streets in the Leeds area June 10th and 11th for the Leeds Community Days Street Dance and Car Show. B is a resolution temporarily closing various streets in the Leeds area on June 9th for the Leeds Community Day Parade. By the way, we had a half a bag of candy left over because you didn't show up, Julie, from the last parade, so we got a little head start for next.
Seems like we had a record-breaking.
Oh, that was unbelievable how many people
Is
were
your
at the
arm
morning.
tired?
Oh,
It was the the biggest crowd I've ever seen in the morning.
That's wonderful. Well, we have Leeds coming up in June, so.
C is a resolution temporarily closing 4th Street from Nebraska Street to Pierce Street, beginning 8 a.m. and ending at 5 p.m., June 10th, 2023, for Art Affair. Actions relating to bond, a resolution directing the sale of the general obligation bonds. You want to say anything, or is that interest rate what you expected?
Treasurer, yes, it's actually a little bit lower than what we had budgeted. We budgeted 6%, and I believe they came in at 3.42 for taxable and 4.51 for.
You budgeted 6%.
Yes, because it was when the market was a lot higher.
Now, is it too late to cut property taxes by that amount?
What we typically would do is put it in the reserve, and the next year we'd
yeah,
use
I know.
those to
I know.
fund balances. But at the time that's what we thought was between 5 and 6%, so that's what we budgeted at. So we're pleasantly pleased today that the rates are
should
much
be.
lower.
Good.
I was going to say,
So-
being able to hedge your bets on that side rather than.
Exactly,
Good.
yes.
Good for you. Okay, B is a resolution directing the sale of taxable general obligation bonds. 14 are actions relating to agreements and contracts. A is a resolution approving a contract to Heber Construction for the 722 Nebraska Street demolition. Darrell, I just want to make sure I told Alex correct. There is a full bond on this project. Is that correct?
That is correct. We have a full bond on this one.
Great. I was texting the mayor, just kind of following up there, and then Julie and I talked earlier today as well. There was just quite a bit of variance in the bid, and I wanted to make sure that we were protected and confident in this company and their abilities to execute it. It's a big project.
It is a big project. They've had some other big projects in here, and they came in actually significantly lower than this on those projects, and we're able to complete those in a timely fashion as well. So
That's awesome.
Feel very comfortable on it. Overall, the whole project, we've actually had bond from a previous 90-day situation that they didn't fall through, so we did get $70,000 back on that bond as well for the city. So a little bit of it's getting paid for. So.
And Darrell?
Yes.
And you told me it was due to
A lot of it's due to mobilization and housing and
because
things
of
for these
local.
out-of-town contractors that are coming in to the Minneapolis area. One of them was from Illinois, I believe. So they traveling and bringing equipment, mobilization, and then also housing and things like that. Plus having local contracts and knowing where to get your fill dirt and your other materials that you would need for the
Does
project.
he still have his own landfill he can use?
Yeah, he's got his own pit, the borrow pit as well, so
That's great.
So,
And
yeah.
then what's it going to be when it's done? Is it going to be,
it'll be seeded.
Okay, it'll be grass,
It'll be
okay.
a slope still, because we want to make sure that we're not having, any issues with roads or anything like that. So the north wall and the east wall of the foundation will be tapered back, and then there'll also be a chain link fence put on top of that, and then it'll be graded back in there, so
and the old Y will finally be gone?
the hazard will be gone, so.
Just to give you, the other thing I could have said to Alex, I forgot, is he took Heelan down.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah,
he
because
did
I
that
was
for
just
around
trying to.
He did that one for around $200,000.
So we just do so many contracts and everything, and I was trying to all the names, so.
I think he may have sent a bid on the old St. Joe Hospital too to Art.
He's bid a lot of demo.
Yeah, done quite a bit. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Daryl.
B is a resolution approving a contract to Subservco for well number 2 replacement project. I need to abstain. C is a resolution approving a contract to G Asphalt Systems for the Sioux Gateway Airport Blast Pad and Parking Lot Seal Coat Project. D is a resolution approving addendum number 1, the building services agreement with EMS management and consultants to ensure compliance with HIPAA privacy and security rules. E is a resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement with Sergeant Bluff and Woodbury County for the I-29 project.
Mayor, I just want to make some comments. This project, the interchange justification project, started in 2015, and construction will start in 2026. So 11 long years, and I want to commend the City of Sergeant Bluff, County of Woodbury, and the City of Sioux City for working closely together on this project. And I want to thank the county and thank the City of Sergeant Bluff for that. It's been a long time coming, and it's paying off because of the cooperation we've received from each of the entities. So thank you, county, thank you, City of Sergeant Bluff, and we'll just keep moving forward.
And thank you, Dakin, you were part of that process as well. So thank the state of Department of Transportation, because it wouldn't have got submitted to the feds without the state's participation. So
2026.
and let the
construction
county
commences.
keep leading the project with their engineering and their money for now. We'll very much appreciate that as well. So thank you. F is a resolution awarding a service provider agreement to Otis Elevator Company for the Wilbur Alf's Library Elevator Project. The staff's requesting this be deleted. Is that right?
Yes, we haven't received the contract or the bond.
Okay, I'll move that.
Second.
O'Kane.
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
G is Nelson Construction. 1 is a resolution awarding a contract to Nelson Commercial Construction in the amount of $2,205,000 for Airport Northeast T Hangar Development Project. 2 is a resolution awarding a contract to Nelson Commercial Construction in the amount of $1,130,000 for the Airport Northeast T Hangar Development Project. I'll move to delete that.
Second.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
O'Kane.
Aye.
15 are actions relating to personnel. A is a resolution amending the position classification manual and salary schedule by adding a human resource benefits manager position. B is a resolution amending the position classification manual by adopting updated job descriptions for the human resource director and human resource specialist. 16s are actions relating authorizing payments. A is a resolution authorizing payment to KP Construction for the Dead Man's Creek Low Water Crossing Repair Project. B is a resolution authorizing payment to KP Construction for the South Steel Emergency Manhole Replacement Project. C is a resolution approving a partial settlement of a tort claim and authorizing payment. D is a resolution approving fund transfers for April. E is a motion approving claims, total expenses, and receipts for April. 17 are actions relating to property. A is a resolution proposing to grant a temporary easement in the area of 2503 Indiana Avenue. The petitioner is Russell and Lewis Lowry. B is a resolution proposing to grant an underground electric easement at 4400 West 19th Street. The petitioner is Mid-America Energy. C is a resolution accepting the quitclaim deed with reservation easement from the IDOT for excess right-of-way along Larson Park Road. And that concludes the consent agenda, so you can vote on those items. That passes 5-0. Hearing a resolution proposing to sell property in the area of 1421 South Fairmount Street and rescinding all conflicting resolutions. The petitioner is Laverne and Sheila Shawshaw. I'll move that.
Second. Is that the hearing?
No. It's a resolution. Next one's a hearing. Passes 5-0. 19 is a hearing and ordinance amending ordinance 2023-0127 relating to the vacation of West 22nd Street to correct the reference to West 22nd Street to West 21st Street. I'll move that.
Second?
Hearing is now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 5-0. Is anybody opposed to waiving the statutory rule?
No?
I'll move that.
Second?
Scott.
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
O'Kane.
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
I'll move second and third.
Second?
Waters.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
O'Kane.
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye. 20 is an ordinance amending Chapter 15.04 City Cemeteries of the Municipal Code by adding provisions for the trusteeship, establishment of trust fund, and perpetual care registry for Graceland, Floyd, and Logan Park cemeteries. I'll move first reading.
Second?
Passes 5-0. Anybody opposed to waiving the statutory rule? I'll move that.
Second?
Waters.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
O'Kane.
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye. I'll move second and third.
Second?
Moore.
Aye.
O'Kane.
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
21 is an ordinance amending Chapter 2.12 Employee Residency Requirements of the Municipal Code by expanding the mileage requirement in which employees may reside. I'm going to have somebody else move that.
I'll move it.
Second.
You heard on that one?
Do I want to be heard?
No, no.
Well, anybody who wants to be heard should be coming up as I read them.
Okay.
It passes 3-2. Scott and Waters vote no, and I would not like to do the second and third, so we'll go to discussion of City Council representative on the wastewater treatment plant reconstruction and design advisory committee.
Here are my thoughts, because I want to have an open and transparent discussion about our council representative. And Julie Shaner has shown an interest in being that representative. You sit on the Public Works Committee, work hard in that area, and you're very familiar with what's going on. I want to make sure each council member has some input and some comment. Julie prepares enough in advance that she's also thought of, well, if there's a meeting you cannot attend, which I can't believe that would happen, but if there's a meeting you cannot attend, vacation, illness, that kind of thing, that maybe Alex Waters would be your backup. It's good to have a backup.
Right, because he's on the Public Works team.
And Alex also serves on the Public Works Department. But, so I reached out to each of you without talking about what I had said or what my thoughts were with the others. But I know there was some discussion about how long this committee anticipated to be. They talk about, Tom, you're talking about maybe a 1-year period of design. And so, and I don't know if the committee was designed to go beyond that or not. And I'm not suggesting that, it's just truly a question.
Up to 18 months.
I believe it sunsets in 18 months.
The ordinance does, yeah. And then whether if we want to extend it, we can extend it after 18. And I assume you're on board for that as well. So but I just wanted to get input, some comments from each.
And it's just a resolution.
Pardon?
It's a resolution that sunsets at 18 months, but it could be extended.
But it could be extended.
Yes.
Right, okay. But I just wanted to see if there are any comments. I think Matthew had some good comments. make. I don't know if your questions were answered or not, but I just think it's good for us to discuss that, as we're going to be discussing it with other committee members. We have 2 citizens that will be represented, representing the community, and others that we'll make appointments to. So I just thought we should be heard on that. And if anybody had any comments, that's something that eventually we'll put on our agenda, correct, Bob? Okay. Yeah.
We'll provide periodic updates on, as the committee progresses.
I suppose my only thoughts or concerns or reservations about it would be that it is such a large project, and it is one that we want to make sure everybody has a voice in. And that was part of the reason why I pushed for making sure that we had residents appointed to the board as well. And so my thought was that maybe we as a council should wholly be more involved with it. If we didn't have one individual that was going to be at every meeting, maybe we should have more of a rotation between the 5 of us so that everybody felt like they had some representation and the ability to participate in the meetings and do their homework. And that also offers us as a council more of an opportunity to dialogue with each other to make sure that we're understanding the impact that this will have.
I too brought that up, and I think the feedback that I got, both from Tom and from Mr. Padmore, was that then there'll be a certain amount of catching up every time, re-explaining what happened, and or just have one representative.
I
But
think it's important that there be continuity, but it then puts responsibility on staff and that representative to make sure that council is, the rest of the council is kept informed and allowed to provide feedback.
I was gonna say, I completely understand where you're coming from, Matthew. I think that we all represent different voices, or maybe would think about things differently, and sometimes that can lead to better discussion. But I would echo those concerns too, as it's like, gosh, we've probably all been a part of those meetings where maybe you've missed the one before that, or maybe even a couple, and then trying to get up to speed and see where you're at and the discussions that have had, so you're not rehashing things. If it is to go with Julie as the primary appointment, and then I would serve as a secondary in her absence, I think that whoever would be that representative, it would really be incumbent upon them to brief the rest of council, whether it's immediately the council meeting following that meeting or a memo. I mean, I'm fine if we want to, if there's something that we want just discussed, just via email, that's one thing to provide a memo. But if we can have just an honest and open discussion at a council meeting about what was discussed, how things are progressing, or give a brief update, and then something a little more in depth in email. I just think as long as we have that expectation, hopefully that would calm or answer some of Matthew's points that he's raising, because I do think that's important that we're at least all up to speed. And if any of us have any concerns, I know, we should be calling Tom or Bob or talking to consultants. So.
Staff is committed to, I'll call them work sessions, which would be at the end of council meetings, to update you where we're at and seek input from the whole council.
Because sometimes even just hearing, maybe that's a good idea, because maybe hearing staff discuss what was discussed would spur more conversation or thoughts or ideas that then could at least be brought up maybe to start the next meeting and say, after this was discussed, some of the things that the rest of the council or other members wondered or had concerns about was X.
yeah, that's a good idea. Well, we could implement that after each meeting with the next council meeting immediately following, that staff does.
Yeah,
You could be included in that, Bob.
Yeah.
our past practice has been if a council member cannot make a meeting, we do have 4 of us that you can call on. So if you're both unavailable, Matthew's volunteered, and I'd certainly volunteer, and
I'm not volunteering.
the mayor's not volunteering, which I don't blame you with all the meetings you have.
I don't have that many, but I'm staying clear of this one.
Yeah. The question I do have for the committee, do you anticipate they'll have minutes of their meetings?
Yes.
Okay, so that will also help us review the minutes and what they've discussed and what they've talked about. Because Matthew, you're right, it's a huge project. It's going to be the biggest of all time. So But I really want to just have a discussion like this among us. We seldom can have, well, we can't have that outside of a
No.
council meeting. So I just wanted to have input and that kind of thing. I don't really have anything else unless any of you do, or if the mayor, if you have anything. Matthew,
No,
did-
I just feel very passionate about the project. I've been really ingrained in it so far, and with being on the Public Works team, have that extra, knowledge with Alex and I going to those meetings monthly. I just want to make sure that the communication is open, that everyone gets what they should out of those meetings, and it's taken, I know it's going to be taken seriously, but it's not just show up and listen, it's participate.
Absolutely.
So just so that we're transparent about this, after the meeting, the next council meeting that we'll have, you'll have an update for us about what was discussed. And then
Staff will.
we will
Yes.
give any concerns that we want raised at the following meeting.
I think that's.
Yeah. Tom, does that sound good?
It doesn't sound like we're eliminating any work with this solution, but it's a gesture, so I'll take it. I like PowerPoints. I'm just kidding. You don't need to make a PowerPoint.
So that'll be on our
Colorful.
agenda, Mayor, maybe in
They
a
dance.
couple of weeks.
I don't know, do we have to appoint that? We don't appoint any other.
It's just direction of the council.
Yes,
What is?
I believe so, yeah.
We don't appoint the other committee members?
You appoint the other committee members.
But not the
You
city.
just but as a council member, I think it just has to be designated.
Just designated, okay.
As with the other boards and commissions for the representative.
Self-identify what you'd want to be, yeah.
Gotcha, okay. All right, thank you.
Any citizen want to be heard today? Please come forward if you do. Seeing none, we'll go to Mr. O'Kane.
Let's see. So tomorrow from 4:30 to 8:30 at the Pizza Ranch on Floyd, the warming shelter is having a benefit. All tips benefit the warming shelter. It's trying to go 365. There's a huge need and a huge financial gap that we need to close on to be able to do that. But this is an equitable, valuable resource for our community. So I would encourage anybody, they have a play zone for your kids, come out to Pizza Ranch and participate.
Do you know what the gap, well, you probably do. Know what the gap is? I mean, is there a capital campaign going and a goal?
We are working on it.
Okay.
I'll get you some firm numbers.
Okay.
In earnest, but right now it's kind of a moving target because we're adjusting some operational things as well, so.
That sounds like a great cause. For me, I just want to say, again, with the wastewater treatment plant, it is a very, very huge deal. It's a very, very difficult decision that council has had with regard to the project, the monetary amount, and those decisions, and this is probably one of our, it's the biggest one, of course, for me since I've been on council, and it probably is for the mayor, Dan, who've been around for a while. And it's not taken lightly. It's not taken without lots of thought, lots of comparisons. I know there's arguably some questions as to the scope of the project. Is it too big? Are we spending too much money? Is this the right firm? All of those things. And the firm that we have hired, their number one job is to protect the city and to do what's best for the city and for its residents. And I just want to make that very clear that that's why they were hired, to protect our interest. And it's one of those things where you can't get away with not spending the money. I know that I've been in several meetings. At one of them, Debbie Durham stated that Fort Dodge, another community not too far from here, is up against the same wall as we are. They need a new wastewater treatment plant, and to the tune of $175 million. And ours is to the tune of around $470 million. They have a city of just under 25,000 with about 3 industries. We have a city of 87,000 with 32 industries. So when you weigh against other communities and other projects, it makes sense. It's not to say that it can't be tweaked. It's not to say that, something might change slightly. But once this is said and done, I really think we're going to find out that this is what we need. It's for the best of the environment, the city, community as a whole, for the future of Sioux City. We're under a lot of scrutiny. We keep saying this with the Iowa Department of Natural Resources. We're under scrutiny from the EPA. In the past, we have not met their standards, and we've gotten fined for it. The city's in a lawsuit because of it. We need to stay out of those kinds of troubles before they take our plant over. We don't want to lose the control that we have of it, and I just want everyone to know this is a huge project. It's going to take a long time to get it done, but in my heart of hearts, in everything that I've been told and that I've learned about it so far, I think that we're moving in the right direction. I really do. So that's my salt box today. I think it's going to work out well, and I think we're going to look back and say we're glad that we did it.
We'll take that as your acceptance.
Oh.
Yeah, right.
Alex?
Yeah, no, I have just a few things. The first one that I was going to bring up was I've noticed, and I don't know if anyone else in the community has noticed, but a large or an increasing number of very loud moped-like vehicles, and I've been seeing them a lot on our trail system as well as our sidewalks. And so I wanted to let the chief of police know I'm going to be following up with him, but I also spoke with Parks and Recreation and had some questions that I wanted to bring to their attention, because I've heard from a couple of people riding the trails that have commented to me that they're seeing these vehicles on our trails, and we're going to need to discuss some enforcement, because it's frustrating and dangerous, and I don't want that to become a habit where people are seeing that and feeling deterred by being on our trails and stuff like that. So just one thing I wondered if anyone else on the council had seen or experienced that, but just let you know that I'm gonna
Go in front of my house doing about 50 twice a day. Yeah, I've seen them on Rebecca Street. So
Is it a mini bike or?
Yeah, it's almost like, it seems like that. Like literally today I was sitting on campus and one drove through the middle of campus, and I'm like, well, that's a sidewalk. So
last week there was a team of four-wheelers right down the middle of Rebecca, just flying down Rebecca.
So I'm going to hopefully be following up on that and seeing what maybe we can do to curb that behavior. The second thing that I was going to say was Julie and I would have loved to have been at the parade, and I'm sure Matthew probably would have been as well, especially hearing record turnout. It was beautiful weather, but Julie and I were at the police officers recognition and promotion banquet, and I'm telling you, that was extraordinarily powerful. It was, I guess, I don't know what I was expecting. I've been to those before, but hearing some of those stories and what our officers are going through and what they're being commended for and why they're being recognized, I can't impress upon our community enough how lucky we are to have those men and women serving our community in the way that they do. And I think that our community rallies behind our police force. And I think that that's due to a lot of our community policing efforts and things, and just the nature of the people that are serving. So I thank you very much, because you were one that was recognized, weren't you? Yes. So thank you so much. And that was so meaningful, and I hope you share that with your brothers and sisters, that it just meant a lot. I was very proud in that meeting, and it was hard not to tear up hearing some of those stories about how people go above and beyond. So thank you very much for your service. The last thing that I wanted to bring up, and Mayor, it's probably most appropriate for you, but just so council is aware that I at least was going to ask this. A while back, Delbert Christensen had passed away, and it was his 70th birthday yesterday, and it just got me thinking, and I forget who I talked to. Some people at Morningside were thinking that we should have some type of memorial for him and what he did for sports, specifically softball, at Morningside, but then beyond. And one of the conversations that came up with
Morningside was that it was maybe more appropriate even at Hubbard, just because of how involved he was
We
in
have
that
those
process.
nameplates now.
And is that for donations or what,
Yep,
like
for
different
$300.
levels and?
No, it's $300, and
Yeah.
you can have a nameplate made, and they have some up there, very nice looking.
They do.
Because I was thinking about looking into that, because I know people would donate, and I didn't know if we wanted to do that or a different one. It doesn't really matter to me. I just think that I've known Delbert since I was an undergrad, and you won't meet someone that was more passionate about athletics and this community and Morningside, and gosh, and then when he moved back to Sioux City and was at Hubbard Park, I mean, he was just shining, and he was a dog with a bone. I know he was probably calling you because he was calling me all the time, so.
Well, I actually am not a member of their board, but I go to a lot.
Oh,
of board
okay, I thought you were.
meetings. Yeah, I got to be in meetings with him, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, if you want to let me know if you think that's most appropriate, or if you go to a board meeting and could at least just say.
I'll ask him, yeah.
I brought something up and I know that they're fraternity brothers of mine and people that would probably donate some money, so.
That's what we like to hear, so.
And I hear
About
Julie,
about
Julie
190.
made it easier for us to be able to do that.
I
About
did.
$192,000, and we'll call it the Delbert lighting system.
Well, I'd have to be in your tax bracket to probably do that.
That is a challenge.
Yeah, there you
Match
go.
anything you put in.
I challenged that
go.
board.
I'm waiting for
Great.
Dan to match that Briar Cliff one, but yeah.
Now, Hubbard Park, you may go to a new established Venmo account if you would like to make a donation. And I challenged them. I said, if they get that, I've been asking for it since last year.
I don't get into that stuff.
I know you don't, but you said you'd pass the info along, and I know that you did.
We'll
and-
have to check that out.
They have it up. I was able to utilize it last
good.
week. I gave them a challenge, and I said I'd match up to $1,000 for other donations, and I've met my promise, and the Venmo account is open, so everybody get in there.
Well, yeah, just report back or let me know what the
Yeah.
board thinks would be most appropriate, but I just wanted to mark his service, especially to that place, so.
Okay,
That's all I have.
Mr. Moore?
Thanks, Mayor. A week from today is Memorial Day, and many people will be going to the city cemeteries, Graceland, Floyd, Logan Park, to decorate where their loved ones are. I want to thank Roger Posey and the Parks and Rec Department for working on these cemeteries to get them all mowed and cleaned up, so they'll be wonderful on Memorial Day weekend, which is a big weekend for those that want to go visit loved ones. I also want to thank Roger because a close friend of mine had some difficulties with a loved one at one of the city cemeteries, and he rose to the occasion and actually just fixed the problem. So we have a caring staff. Cemeteries still mean a lot, markers still mean a lot to a lot of people and for their loved ones. I know it does me, so I hope everyone has a safe weekend, Memorial Day weekend, and can visit where their loved ones may be resting. That's all I have, Mayor.
Officer, did you go to Briar Cliff? Oh, I just wanted people to know you can go to Briar Cliff and be a good police officer. Memorial Day is coming, and the single largest complaint I get in this community the last 3 months is the condition of Memorial Park Cemetery. And I know I have to be careful because it's a private enterprise, but quite frankly, it's a real lack of respect for deceased people, the shape that cemetery's in. And there must be some state institution that oversees that. And I don't know who it is, but we need to write them a letter. We got in the cemetery business, if you check, in this community, not because the city wanted to be in the cemetery business. We got into it because other people failed. And that perpetual fund was set up to protect that from happening, that people would give money, buy lots, and it's supposed to be perpetual, but somebody needs to talk to them about, I mean, when you can't even hardly drive through it without bottoming out your car. It's
Right.
like unacceptable, and they can get mad at me all they want, but that's just unacceptable.
Well, and most people in the community don't know that the city doesn't own it and manage it.
I know, that's why they asked me about it.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I see that on social media.
Right,
I've had similar complaints and passed those on to Mr. Padmore.
right.
F as well.
Dan and I did the Morningside Day Parade, and we were told that next year, that police department, I gotta be careful here too, that they don't want the parade to start where it starts, but if that parade doesn't start where it starts, you can't have that parade, because you can't start 2 blocks down the street. There aren't enough side streets. Those are all residential, narrow streets. The staging is, and the police said, well, Lakeport's a thoroughfare. Okay, but everybody knows it's Morningside Day Parade. There are ways to turn off before you get to that. So would you work with your staff and figure out why that's such a problem? I think this was the 70th year? Is that right? I think it was the 70th year.
Is there any way we'd be able to actually flip it and have the lineup start at Immaculate Conception and use that parking lot in that area
That's not a big enough parking lot.
and then go south?
You'd have to go all, and the college is still going on, right?
This is such a.
No.
Well, then the only way.
Well, some would have been, yeah.
The only way you could reverse it is go down to Roberts Stadium,
Oh, yeah.
and that kind of defeats the purpose, because they want it to, anyway.
Well, I just thought, and then still, but then maybe turn
No, I
off
know.
before you get to US Bank, or right after US Bank.
But that's the problem, then, you don't have a way to, you still got to have room to get out of there.
Right to
Here's the deal, though. We don't have to find a solution to a problem that doesn't exist.
Right, I mean, you're talking
And it's very-
35, 40
And
minutes
it's
of that street
professionally
being.
run.
I'll work with the police
parade.
department. We'll
It's-
resolve it.
They've got it organized. They know what they're doing. We don't need to find a solution, because a problem does not exist unless you find a problem that we don't know about. But I don't think there is one.
Well, I'm sure they're worried about emergency vehicles, but that's not a big deal. You open the street up and let them through if that ever were to be a problem. You got the same problem with your fire truck
Right.
in Morningside.
Yep.
Anyway, I'd hope that wouldn't be a problem. I just want to give a shout out to Jeremy Dumkrieger, not because he did a bobblehead for me, but because his art tries to teach the kids about art and community participation. And it was an honor. Don't misunderstand. I'm very honored that he did that, especially the first inductee was Flora Lee, so to follow her is even more touching for me. But anyway, I think it's a neat project that he has, and I just wanted to give him a shout out today. So we need some help with some poles at Hubbard. Kelly's maybe got some, but the backstop gave out.
That's
when
what
they were
I
trying
heard.
to change the fence, so we got to get a backstop back up. So I don't know if Kelly and Matt, they aren't here, have a auger truck that they could.
I'll talk to 'em.
They found some poles
Okay.
from another field, but if they could put those poles in, it would really help us. We've got the netting for the back. So-
No one was hurt when that fell over, was they?
What's that?
No one was injured when that fell over, was it?
Mike Milanowski just about was. That pole snapped and they're hooked to cables, and that thing went, and Kelly's crew went up and did a great job to knock the pipe out of the railing and everything. It was a bad deal.
And they haven't been able to hold games because of it, is that right?
Yeah, we got to get at least a temporary backstop up. So Kelly found some from another field that they aren't using anymore, so if we could just figure out a way to get them drilled in.
Yep.
Okay, I move we adjourn.
Second?
O'Kane?
Aye.
Shaner?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Waters?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
This